And now you're working on the J3341 carbon footprint methodologies for passenger vehicle standard. Where does that fit into the journey? What was the next thing that you got there?
Yeah. So I'll zoom in and get in the weeds a little bit. But during grad school, I studied life cycle assessment. And for those of you who don't know, I don't know if you were going to cover this, but a life cycle assessment is a methodology that is systematically assessing the environmental impacts of a product or process all the way from, we call it cradle to grave. So you're mining, using your product all the way to disposing at the end of life. Carbon footprint, what we're going to be talking about, is one that's specifically focused on climate change or greenhouse gases. So during my time at Stanford, I was very fortunate. We had this partnership with Rivian, which rewind. I also love cars and I love Rivians. So when I saw that Rivian was one of the companies that had partnered with Stanford for this project, I was like, get me on that team. It worked. I was super aggressive in making sure I wound up on that team, and I got to work on a life cycle assessment with Rivian while I was at grad school. And so that kicked off what eventually led to my job here at Rivian. I'm on our product sustainability team, and we're essentially focused with trying to design and build the most sustainable vehicles possible. And a lot of that means benchmarking other vehicles, making sure we are on the cutting edge of sustainability. So anytime a different OEM releases an LCA report, I'm probably one of the first people to dig in and read it. And one of the things I noticed early on is that we are all doing them differently, like night and day, completely uncomparable final results, which made my job tricky. It was a lot of reverse engineering, trying to figure out what people were doing. But I also was like, man, this completely undermines the credibility. This makes it impossible for people to discuss, especially if you aren't like me and you don't dig in and reverse engineer what they're doing to figure out what they're trying to say. And so that led my whole team, honestly, to be like, we want to fix this. We want to be a part of this discussion and make these reports comparable and really kind of align and push each other to do better in this space. And so that's how we wound up trying to kick off J3341.
Well, you combined your love of the outdoors with a great company, because Rivian, if you look at all the marketing, it's always focused on the outdoors, and you even have remote chargers that you put many blog posts up about. It's interesting when you talk about everybody's doing it differently. You had the voluntary safety assessments on the autonomy side where everybody was doing them differently, and they finally came together with government help. Is that one of the things with the task force with J3341 where, I'll use the term loosely, standard, but to kind of where everybody can come to the same page, the same table, to kind of really dissect what each other's doing to move things forward?
I think so. I mean, we've been super fortunate that the task force has a really broad representation. We have a lot of OEMs in there. We got some government researchers, we got academia, we have tier one suppliers. So we definitely have this great cut of cross-functional collaborators. And so far, we honestly have been aligning on a lot of issues. I will say we're actually moving away from this concept of a standard. And that's for a couple reasons. Now, I know I was just saying, like, yes, that we're all doing them differently. The existing literature out there is too broad. But there is actually a lot of value and flexibility. Essentially, if we take like lifetime mileage, for an example. So our team at Rivian, we're working really hard to ensure that we are engineering vehicles to last as long as possible. So when I write a carbon footprint report, I want to be able to capture those sustainability initiatives and celebrate that. And a standard, if we were to say, hey, you have to pick this number, kind of undermines that. Like, it doesn't let you call out what's most specific to your supply chain, and especially like if it's a sustainability initiative. So there's that. And there's also competing standards out there. There's a lot of, the automotive industry is global. And so there's a lot of different working groups out there that are trying to standardize this, some of which are coming in the form of, international frameworks that you're going to have to respect. And so we didn't want to add to this competing landscape. And so that's why we've shifted from a standard to a disclosure addendum. So essentially, we don't want to tell people this is how you need to do it. We want people to say, tell us how you did it, disclose these key variables, and then also run these specific scenarios. Tell us what your vehicle looks like if it was driving in the US and lasting 200,000 miles, things like that.